Hey guys, so for those who don't know me, my name is Jodel, and if you, oops, if you guys don't, for those who don't know me, I was literally raised in church. See, I was dedicated as a child. My mom, she was a worship leader, more like backup singer with a flag. If you went to a Filipino church, you'd know what that is. Anyways, and my dad, he's a sound guy. So every Sunday, I was literally raised in church. I grew up in church. And thinking about it now, my walk with God was definitely a journey that I'll never forget. Sometimes when I look back at it now, like in my highs with my walk with God, I felt so confident that He was real. I felt like He was there with me, like His love was so real. I was confident that He was there. But I'm not gonna lie, sometimes, maybe too often, I felt like God was out of my reach. I felt like He's too far, He's too distant. I couldn't hear Him. No matter how loud I'd scream, no matter how loud I'd cry, I just felt like He wasn't there. But in those moments, when I look back at it now, those moments truly defined my walk with God. See, if I look back at it now, in those moments, I could say, God, you're with me, you're walking with me. No matter how hard these struggles are, no matter how hard my seasons may be, you're walking with me. But sometimes I'd say, I'd be too scared to fall. I'd be too scared to walk with Him, to rely on Him, you know? When I look at this picture, you guys cannot really see it. It's a picture of me, my little me, and my dad. My dad's over there. What's up, Dad? That picture was a picture of me when I was kind of first learned how to walk. And when I look at this picture, I used to try, honestly. But when I look at this picture, I see my walk with God. And you can see this with any kid who's learning how to walk. When they take their first few steps, you know, they're trying to walk straight and whatever, and then they lose their balance and they'd fall, right? That's how I saw my walk with God. Sometimes I'd lose my balance and I'd fall. And when you look at a kid who falls, who falls when they're learning how to walk, they just feel alone. They feel abandoned. They're just carrying all this sorrow. They feel like they're alone. But see, when I learned how to walk, my dad would see that. He'd come up to me and he'd pick me back up until I could walk by myself. In the same way, God, when God sees us fall, He's always there to come and pick us back up. Sometimes, looking back at it now, sometimes when I first learned how to walk, He'd call me by name. I'd just run into His arms. That's how comfortable I felt with God. When He comes and calls my name, I'd run into His arms. See, when we look at Galatians 4:7, it says, "Therefore you are no longer a slave, but a child, and if a child, an heir to God." So we see God calling us out of our slavery. See God calling us into a new identity. See, when we look at the story of Moses, Moses was enslaved to a lost identity. He didn't know who he was. All he knew was words and things that people just shoved into his identity. And he got lost and he ran away. See, but we later see God calling Moses into a new identity, a child of God. See, we're all called to be a child of God. See, when we look at the story of Moses, Moses was bound to do great things. God used him because he walked with God. God calls us to a home. He calls us a child. And when we're children, we're bound to come home. A home is where we can be safe, where we can feel comfortable. We can come as we are. See, when we look at the story of Moses, he ran away. And in the same way, when I was walking with God, I ran away. I went to broken homes to call my own home. But God called me back. He called me out of my slavery. I was enslaved to guilt. I was enslaved to shame. Sometimes it makes me cry a little bit. But God called me out of my slavery into a new identity. And that's a child of God. See, God used Moses. God can use me. God can use you. Because we're called to be a child of God. See, we're all called to be a child of God. We're called home, right? A place where we can be comfortable, where we can feel safe, where we can come as we are. We can come bearing our slavery, and God says, no, that's not you. You're a child of God. And that's the identity where I feel comfortable in, where I can walk proudly and say, yeah, I'm a child of God. I belong somewhere. And God's called you home. Thank you, guys.